5 of the most anticipated show of the last couple years for sure, the Stranger Things season 5. And I know, maybe it's kind of late, but I always say it's better be late than never do anything. So yeah, I want to talk about it. I just want to warn you first in the beginning, we're going to talk about my just general thoughts, general feelings, and then I'm going to say be ready for spoilers, and we're going to deep dive into more details, more examples, and actually talk about like the plot, the writing, some little details there and there, just to explain why this finale was kind of a major disappointment. Not the Game of Thrones level of disappointment, but pretty close, pretty close. Let's start with a positive thing. So the Duffer brothers, the creators, the writers, I think the like directors and everything, they promised that it's gonna be one of the biggest seasons. Oh, sorry, it's gonna be the biggest season with the biggest budget, with a blockbuster level type of like graphics and everything. Every episode is gonna be like almost 2 hours long, like an hour to 2 hours, and then the finale is gonna blow your mind in terms of like how expensive everything is gonna look. And they delivered. They actually delivered. The show looks amazing. The CGI is amazing. It looks expensive. There's so many actors. Let's say in the Game of Thrones, if we're gonna talk about like disappointing finales, like in Game of Thrones, like episode 3, you couldn't see shit. Like literally, like episode 3, there's a major fight going on, one of the biggest fights for that's supposed to be having like the best CGI ever, but we didn't see any of that expensive stuff. Like the Game of Thrones, like episode 3, just couldn't see anything. It was so bad. But in this show, everything was fine. Like in terms of again, CGI, budgeting, like money, you could see it. It really got expensive. Another small positive thing I can say about the show is like just actors and their acting. They did pretty good job with the roles they got, with the material they had to work with. There's some characters in the show that pretty basic, pretty plain, like they're playing like evil for the sake of being evil. We're gonna talk about it later. But even those kind of characters that just don't have anything to work with, even they delivered. Like the actors did pretty good job. They earned their money. Unfortunately, this is the last good thing I can say about the season. So let's jump to negative stuff. If I would highlight two main issues that I have with the season, number one, it would be the fact that this season is no different from any other season we've seen before. It follows exactly the same formula. The military comes in, the government comes in. They have their goals that they trying to chase. Sometimes, usually, it's capturing L or something to do with L. And we have the monster that the kids got to deal with, and usually the military and the monster, they never interact with each other. Like they're not really like against each other. They always like sort of like a separate forces that the main characters have to deal with. Even like in the small details, like it's very similar to the previous seasons. For example, they always like to introduce this like one very likable character that eventually around like episode 6 7, somewhere at the end of the season, these likable characters getting killed off for the sake of getting a little bit of drama, tears, maybe raising the stakes. In season 2, it was I forgot the name of the actor, but he played Sam in The Lord of the Rings. So it follows the same exact formula, unfortunately. And if that's what you want, well, good for you. But I expected to get a little bit different things. And the second issue would be, unfortunately, writing. Uh, I think it got sloppy. Just overall, it felt like sometimes the writers got a little bit lazy, and they just didn't want to be illogical, just trying to explain certain things to us. For example, somewhere in the beginning of the season, the military goes around the neighborhood, and they asking parents to give up their kids so they could take them to their camp. And the parents, they just basically give them the kids. without any questions, without any problems. It just military came in, just took the kids, and just like, okay, we're taking them, and nobody cares. Another issue that I want to briefly mention is the ending. The reason I'm not highlighting the ending as its like own separate big issue is because it's a combination of both issues that I mentioned before. It's basically exact the same predictable ending that you would expect from the Stranger Things show. On top of that, there's a lot of sloppy writing mistakes that make this ending a little bit incomplete and not satisfying. And because of that, a lot of people came up with this. I just recently found out there's people that came up with this theory. I think it's called conformity gate theory, that I found hilarious because I couldn't believe that people would believe that there's actually like Netflix would purposely sabotage their show, make it the ending really bad for the sake of, oh yeah, we're gonna release a new episode, we're gonna bring like more people back and basically get a huge hype. It's such a bad business idea that just wouldn't work. And I was really surprised that people trying to come up and kind of cope with this like issue that the ending they got, that's the only thing they will get. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the Mass Effect back in the day in 2012, if you remember, when everyone finished Mass Effect and there's a huge number of people got disappointed by the ending. They came up with their own explanation and their own theory that they thought, okay, the ending doesn't make sense in Mass Effect 3. But we found the ways to make it more sense. You know what's funny? Despite all this negative stuff that I mentioned about the season, I still enjoyed it to some degree. Yes, it's overall weak. Yes, it's a big disappointment. Yes, but like people say, sometimes it's about the journey, not about the ending. So that's how I felt about it. Like I watched the first 5 to 6 episodes and I was like, it's okay. Then I got disappointed after like I finished the show, went to sleep, woke up the next day, started to think about it. I was like, yeah, it could be better. They could fix a lot of issues, but at the same time, it ended, it happened the last 10 years, so it's just fine. It's okay. Like, and I feel like you still should watch it if you can. Like if you enjoy the previous seasons, just you can watch this one. Okay, guys, let's talk a little bit more about the plot, actually with spoilers. So I warn you, get ready. Don't go in the comments and say like, "Oh, I didn't warn you." You warned, guys. Spoilers right now. I have a list. I made some notes when I was watching this season. It got a little bit darker as you can notice, so I need my glasses to see. So, one of the first thing that I mentioned is that military is stupid, just nothing happens. So, like I mentioned before, the writing got sloppy. And when it comes to the military, it got mega sloppy. It got super bad. I don't know what happened, but like again, in the previous seasons, the military was always sort of like um not a secondary danger, not a secondary threat. It was a second main villain of the story that the main characters had to deal with to some degree. In this season, the military is basically there, they doing something, but at the same time, they kind of stupid. They don't know what's going on. They're not trying to figure out anything. There is this new bad villain, which is what's her name? Dr. K. She only fixated on getting L because she needs L's powers to go against Russians because there's Cold War and some other stuff, and that's only what she cares about. But the thing is, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the town. People getting killed, kidnapped, there are monsters, soldiers getting slaughtered, and everything. Their camp where they're all located, like, got attacked by monsters. And Dr. K, she doesn't care about that. She doesn't know what's going on. The military doesn't know what's going on. They not bothered. All they want to get is L and only L. Again, she just fixated on L, L, and L. She's so plain. Just she was written in such a way that she's just bad. She's just bad for the sake of being bad. And then there is nothing going on with them. Again, the military, it was always a second threat, not a secondary threat, not a secondary danger. No, it was a second threat, the second main villain of the story, but not in this season. In this season, the military is just an obstacle that the main characters had to overcome to reach the main goal, which is to stop Vecna and destroying the worlds. Basically, they getting killed not just by monsters but by the main characters as well. For example, like Hopper and Nancy, they take guns, they just go and shoot all of them, and at the end, this is like one of the examples where again the main characters, they just don't care about the military at all. When they finished Vecna, when they're going back through the portal to the real world, they completely forgot that the military is there waiting for them. They were driving, they're like all happy, all celebrating, and then as soon as they cross the portal, they realize the military is there. They capturing everyone, and they're like acting so surprised. It's like, oh no, the military. Now, finally, they actually like realizing, this guy's out there. Again, as I mentioned, the main characters killed a bunch of soldiers. Like, I don't know, like about 100 of them maybe. The military, the government, whatever, they just let them go. They just forget about them. You go, guys, forget about it. Yes, you try to stop us from getting this new weapon. You try to stop the military. You killed a bunch of our people. You killed a bunch of people from the government. Doesn't matter. Forget about it. We just forget about it. And 18 months later, the military just left. Dr. K, one of the biggest, like, again, she's like super evil, super angry lady that just like wants L and everything. She just leaves and nobody gets punished from the main character. At least I expected the Hopper or Nancy or someone they will be in jail and there's gonna be some sort of a different like court fight. I don't know, something. It just doesn't make sense that the military at the end of the show just leaving like that with no consequence for anyone. It's just so weird. No, like the military is just no longer a threat, no longer like a big deal at all. Just a bunch of guys that the characters gotta occasionally deal with. Okay, the second thing on my list is basically it says plot armor for the main characters. Literally, this season has a lot of plot armor for the main characters. It's just sometimes it's just so on the nose. It's so right here. It was pissing me off. I'm not gonna lie. Like there was a moment. Like there's just one example. I'll give you two. One example in the hospital, at the basement, where the main characters were running away from this like dog monsters. They got cornered. They have this cassette player that was playing the music, and the monsters, they're slowly approaching, very slow. Before they were super fast, but when they started to approach the main character's location, they were super, super slow. And then they hear something on the side, like some kind of sound from the washing machine. They're like, oh, what? Washing machine? They just go there, they're approaching the washing machine super slow. And then they see this like a container that the gas container that's supposed to explode, and they're like, oh, and they explode. It was just so weird and so bad. Like I felt like, okay, the main characters, at least one of them should be getting killed at that time. Just no way. The dogs were super fast, super aggressive. They heard the music, where the music is coming from the cassette. They just were very slow. And when they heard some sound on the right side, they immediately distracted and went over there just for that epic scene to be created where the mother, what's her name, like Mike's mother, would show up and just being such a badass. It's just so, it's bad. It's bad. I don't know. That scene is just so weird. Another scene, it's when Demogorgons, I think that's what their name is, they get to the military camp to get kids, to get the kids, like 12 of them. They're trying to capture them. So they send like about like 12, 15 Demogorgons and just slaughter everyone, every single military soldier. They just slaughter them. But the main characters, they pretty safe. Nothing, like they're just running around trying to be very strategic about it. And every time, every encounter with Demogorgons, when it comes to the main characters, Demogorgons just become suddenly super slow. Before, they would jump on the soldiers just like that and just slice them in half. When it comes to the main character, they walk very slow. They're trying to like, instead of killing them, they like push them away or something, just throw them around. Honestly, it's just so obvious and it's just so weird the way it was shown. I mean, again, I'm not asking like, oh, please kill some of the main characters, please. It just, but at least don't create this kind of scenes. Don't show me that these characters should be dead, but you don't kill them because literally plot armor. It's just right there. It's just blatantly right there, and it's weird. And another thing, like again, I said sloppy writing, a lot of issues. So I have a lot of little things that in there. Like basically, there's a big issue with writing and just making sense out of certain things. For example, I have this like a note when the group of kids and some other guys, the main characters, were fighting the mind flare. Nancy says, "Oh, we gotta. I'm gonna distract mind flare so he could chase me to the caves, and you guys go forward, and you gotta get the position on the top to fight it." You know what happens? As soon as Nancy says, "Okay, I'm gonna distract him," she shoots at the mind flare when all the other guys they pretty close to her. They still like they not even left the side. They're still they're not going to the caves yet. You can literally see she shoots at the mind flare at the same time as the kids still nearby, right next to her, and they're trying to run away. But the plan was is that they're gonna get to the top and will ambush mind flare, but she doesn't give him then she doesn't give them any time to get to that point. But somehow they still manage to do it. Another issue is Vecna kind of being a little bit dumb sometimes when it comes to Will, especially. Vecna used Will to be his eyes so he could see what happens in Hawkins so he could execute his plan. But eventually Vecna find out that Will can control his body. And you know what Vecna does? Nothing. He's just like, oh yeah, you did this, but don't forget, I'm still in control. And he captured his mind and everything. But you know Will can control your body. He literally broke your leg and just let it slide like that. You just don't go after Will, that you're basically kryptonite that you created by yourself. Why you gave Will such powers to control you? It was never explained. Maybe there was no other way around. Maybe Vecna like, I gotta give it a little bit of my power so I could have a better connection or something. But it was never explained why Will has a power of over Vecna's body. Why Vecna? Okay, whatever with that thing. But why Vecna is not doing anything about it? Especially after Vecna says, "Hey, I'm gonna use you one more last time, and that's it." Okay, after that, kill the baby, kill the kid, kill Will, because he is a major threat to you, but you're not doing anything about it. Another thing that got annoying, actually two things that got annoying by while I was watching the season is that the fact that everyone can come up with a theory and the theory will be correct, and they always like using toys to describe things. It happens too many times throughout the season. They just like take toys. They're like, oh, this is Dr. K. She's gonna go over here, and then there's gonna be Vecna. And what if they connected? What if they're gonna make out with each other, and then we're gonna distract them and we're gonna kill them all or something like that? They always do this like all the time. Every episode, they're just using toys or something to explain us the things, theories, and everything that most of the time, like 99% of the time, are correct. I felt like the creators of the show think that maybe I'm a little stupid not to understand certain things. I don't need to see those toys every time, and it just sometimes it just doesn't make sense. It's too much. It's just they use it way too much. And another thing, they always have the scenes, almost like every episode. I feels like it's like in Mission Impossible, where the characters sitting together and they're trying to come up with a plan, and suddenly everyone has something to contribute to the plan. Everyone is smart. They're just sitting around and they're just like, we gotta go get here. We're gonna do this. Then another guy would say something like, yeah, but then we can do this and that. Another guy like in the corner, yes. And then you know what? We also could do this and that. I disagree with that, and it happens way too often. And my final problem with the show is the ending. I know that on the internet, people are just upset with the fact that, well, every single main character got a happy ending. Like Mike got a happy ending, all the kids, Hopper, and basically, and everyone moved on. I'm not satisfied how they got to that point. I'm okay with getting a happy ending. I don't understand how they got to the point. It just doesn't make sense to me. I'll explain. At the end of the show, the final episode, Elle decides that she needs to sacrifice herself because this is the only way to end it all. If she's gonna be gone, the upside down will be destroyed. Dr. K and all this like military and the government, they're gonna leave everyone, every single person alone because there's nothing, there's no reason to stay there, nothing to work with. And that plan works. So she basically goes down with the upside down right in the front of the Dr. K and then we get this like thing 18 months later. The kids are graduating, Hopper becoming a sheriff, and like all the other characters, they basically get a job or something and go to college or whatever. The problem is that it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. Like all this group of kids and all these people, the main characters, they were interfering with the government's plans, with the military. They killed a bunch of soldiers, maybe like 100 of them, just snapped their necks, shot at them. And you telling me that Dr. K and everyone will just forget about it and just like moved on and just like, oh, okay, okay, yeah, they killed a bunch of our people. We forget about it. We're just gonna move on. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't work this way. At least like Hopper or Nancy, they should be in jail. Maybe not executed, but they should be in jail. But they just make this like a big time skip and the military just disappears. Dr. K was never defeated. They just left. She just left. And that's it. And I get the point. Like, realistically speaking, there is nothing you can do with the government. Like, it's the government. Even like right now, it's really hard to do anything with the government, especially like a group of a few people. There's nothing they can do, really, realistically speaking. But at the same time, there's got to be something going on. Like again, how Dr. K and everyone in the government just left, forgot about everything, and was like said, "Okay, guys, we're packing our stuff and we're leaving." It doesn't work this way. It doesn't make sense, and it just feels unsatisfying as well that Dr. K is such a bitch that was hunting down L. She was such a menace. She survives everything and just going away. Realistically, it could happen, but at the same time, it just doesn't feel like a good closure to the story. At least Hopper, or I expected maybe Mike would try to do something. You know, Mike maybe become like a politician, go after Dr. K, put her in jail, find this like truth, trying to expose the government, doing something, but they just moved on. And again, in every previous season, it kind of was like that. Like every other season would end on a good note. But at least this time they could have done something differently, but they decided to follow, as I mentioned, their formula. They have the formula, they didn't step aside from it. They decided to keep it the same. They tried to basically play it safe. And that's like, if I would summarize like the whole issue, besides the writing, like put everything together, they just played it safe. No changes were done. So as I was checking my notes, I realized there's just too many things that I could talk about, but I decided I'm gonna stop right here because there is no reason. I explained all the main issues that I had with this season. Overall, it was a disappointment, but I still enjoyed it. Like to some degree, I still did because it's again about the journey. 10 years, been watching every single season, and it's not the end of the world for me. I already went through like a big crisis when with the how the Game of Thrones ended, and this one is not even close to that level. So yeah, even though I'm disappointed, it's still fine. Please leave your comments. Please like whatever you want to do, but I more care about the comments. I'm probably gonna be the only YouTuber who will actually try to respond to you. Go to the comments, leave your stuff there. We're gonna have a good discussion. I'm pretty open to it. I will be checking that out 100%, guys. Okay, Stay happy, guys. See you next time. They always like to introduce this like one very likable character that eventually around like episode 6, 7. Hey, I didn't even want to say that.